I feel say we've still not understood what we are doing to ourselves as a country.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know, but it's so funny. The next chief justice clearly will be. But that was almost important. So what is news about this? I said, since we've gone through the law, it is a say no person me Ghana for you na say sa positions a hodo nyina mrekuni ni bo ban no eto atwa if say aban bi obebe bia no obenya bibi ejina so e dia pam sa positions na emra bo ban nyina. I will not be surprised when the electoral commission goes and the next action of course it will be a functioning team. We are practicing a dysfunctional democracy.
And
it is not
opposition.
Of course,
every position has become a political.
But we are firming it up. It is obia fantuna sumu say o abedwem ya yi obia free vacation termination tieniye wo de di mfie nwotwe mfie du mi ni kura aban bi be ba
ono so be
pam.
And for only position now,
it doesn't matter.
Every position is now a position.
What we are telling ourselves, they say,
yeah,
a co-terminus,
with the term of the president.
Simple. I think it will be better for us to do those arrangements now. Because say NDC crowd free in the next 12 years. It's not possible. We are deepening the dysfunctionality of our democracy
and the hatred.
Yes, hatred and bitterness is building. Also, say if we really want to reset, everybody the alliance minister to Okosuye say oko galamse wachi yankasi yetu galamse o party chairman ankasa kora no kose ye ba ho soja for ba ho no o ma mo na mane and baby a ukosu wo press conference.
So it's soon
stop that
basis.
Oh, please stop it. And I'm saying that stop it. The sooner na solve.
No, say based on the video he saw. Now, and
I'm saying that but even amongst the solutions now river guy yellow. What can they do? Job for the boys. What is this, Obi? We have started on a good note. I'm saying that when we are deepening our democracy, making it very dysfunctional, I'll show you where power lies. I'll tell you that I have power. Let's keep it up. Nobody should even raise because him.
Position.
No, of course. Constitution okay na see akofa emra kwanso ye be diso obi ha be diso pepepe o man bebo obi a be diso pepepe o man e bebo eju de mo ma manyosem enkoso nchiche ye musa na no kure so just enkose gatem enkoso because any time you raise issues the matter is equalization. We are also ready. I know the one can ready. We are so ready. I know coming there. They said you call a concession is NDC for your board. Because say more MPP time now. No mudia. Omokasai. Yes, you do. Pamfanko hik. Pamfanko jo mama osebi. In those videos we have it. So what is it that we want to do to this country again? What is it that we want to do to this country again? No, I'm not in for political tricks again. Bobby, say tie bia no, say empuli breaks are. Na baby akika kono. Hey, me kai o me say, nantwie na yin ni podua no. Anka ne to. Nantwie podua no. Anka ne to. It is anka ne to dia. You know, and sometimes, humility, some of the people that His Excellency appoints to do certain things, these people, clearly, from the word go say, you cannot, yes, you know, and we are watching the space. It is war to every politician. What is it? What is it? Kai hu se ontra ho afebo ye de ade kitikiti bi ebe sign wachi we don't say oye say na moja but no say it's painful. So I will not be bothered about the omo, no. It's their own political space. That's why Makache Lands Minister, no. You're too illegal mining watch. It's getting worse. Wachi, I refer to your krum. Of course. Yeah, that was what I mean. Onsu say Elembele for Western regions, the Western North for you're being minister. Mobo. Nanka Munya Diaz. Onsu. This comedy tricks and all those things. Oh, we are past gone. No man see you anyway. And no man see MCC a pie anyway. You work for 8 years without justification. You are fired just like that. And we keep talking about patriotism here in this country. Now public service holders are being pushed away. Why? Is that the kind of politics we want to practice? Is that the reset that we want to do? Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Asempa FM.
Why? And look at the initiative that the chief of staff took. I was just looking at you. Fantastic, chief of staff.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, fantastic. Business forum, no. Yeah. But Obi, implementation, you are doing. Politically exposed people in Guana, if there's going to be any benefit in that forum, politically exposed people, especially in this administration, because I'm going to propose. What?
The committee that he has set up. So again, I must express my surprise about the conduct of the new Presidency party in this instance. One can only infer political motives to what they are doing.
Just final question from me in relation to this 5 members we're seeing, senior most, second most, senior most at the Supreme Court, and then the membership. We see a security person, we see an auditor, a former auditor general as well, and then a person from academia. Is this leaning into the details captured in these petitions, which is forcing the president to toe the line in the individuals, the non-members from the Supreme Court, which we're seeing on this 5-member committee?
Well, the rules governing this process are pretty strict and stringent. One is not permitted to make any disclosures in respect of the details of the petitions. It is only the President, the Council of States, the petitioners themselves, the Chief Justice, who natural justice demands is giving copies of the petitions, and the committee that has been set up who are seized with the petitions. No one else has a right or authority. This petition. So, regrettably, I'm unable to answer your question as to whether or not it is the nature of the petition that has necessitated the selection of the individuals who have been selected. Right. That if I were to go into the mind of the president, I believe that he thinks that these are the individuals who have what it takes to unravel the facts surrounding this petition, whether or not there is even any basis to remove the Chief Justice.
Right then, Felix, I appreciate that you could join us this afternoon. We'll leave the conversation. I'm sure we'll come back to you as and when it does require. So that's Felix Kwachofosu. He is the Minister for Government Communications. And the breaking news we continue to remind you of is that President John Dramani Mahama has suspended the Chief Justice Gertrude Saba Tokonu pending the determination of whether or not 3 petitions brought against her, of which a prima facie case has been determined, will lead to her removal from office permanently. Remember, that 5-member committee's verdict on whatever transpires all through this investigative period, which has no clearly defined time limit, will be binding on the president. But Joseph, you were having a conversation with counsel just quickly.
Yes, I mean, a question about the outcome of this committee's work and its impact. And counsel, I want to take you to Article 1469 of the 1992 Constitution, and it says the president shall in each case act in accordance with the recommendations of the committee. To the ordinary man, shall is shall. In law, sometimes shall is may and sometimes shall is shall. What's your own understanding of this particular provision?
To be clear, shall is shall, meaning that in this case it is mandatory. All right, it is mandatory. The president would have no discretion in the matter. meaning that if the committee says the Chief Justice is not liable, or in other words, not guilty, the president is bound to go by it. Vice versa, if they were to say she's liable or let's say guilty, the president must go by it and so remove her. Okay, so and you know in 2015 we had an example, Vivian Loretta Lamptey. You remember the Shraj boss? Yes, she was taken through the same process. You remember an MPP member, Frank Anodompre, petitioned for a removal. It wasn't that petition that was, was used, but the one by Richard Nyama, also affiliated to the MPP, right? Yet the process went on. The Justice Benin Committee went into it, and when they came out, their verdict was that she be removed because the grounds for her removal had been established. So President Mahama had no option but to remove Loretta Vivian Lamptey. So that's what happened. So similarly, in this case, the recommendations of the the committees, what the president would go by. Yes, because you see that is a committee that's going to go into the matter. They are the people going to hear the evidence on oath. As I've said, for now, let's leave out the fact that people can lie on oath, etc. The oath is no longer as solemn as it used to be in those days, but still, it's the oath. So they are going to hear these matters on oath, and they are even going to hear cross-examination. You see, sometimes you see something like A, but when the cross-examination comes in, that's when you see different shades of gray. So it's because it's a committee that will be seized with all of this, hearing all the evidence, etc. You see that at the end of it, they will be in a better position than the president to make a recommendation as to what should happen. So the Constitution has given them the greater weight that their recommendations are what the president should go with.
And Council, I want to end with 14611 because that provision states that the president may at any time revoke a suspension under this article. So it means that in between now and when the committee is having its proceedings, the Chief Justice could potentially be back in office if the president decides to do so. You agree with that as well?
Yes, theoretically, sure. Theoretically, it's correct. But let's also watch the practical side. You see, suspension of a Chief Justice is not a light matter. And you know me, we've been making noise all these years that in the new Constitution, the president should not be the one to appoint Supreme Court justices. And for that matter, all Superior Court justices, etc. One separation of powers, a better form of separation of powers, etc. So I know that the president did not take this decision lightly. So such a decision is not a type that you easily find it being reversed. No, because I'm sure they would have looked at everything. And don't forget, you even have our beloved Sofia Kufu on the Council of State, etc. So yes, theoretically it's correct that it can be revoked. But looking at what a quick revocation does to our judicial system and the integrity of the whole process, to be honest, practically, it's not something that will be lightly done.
We'll leave it here for now, Council, and we'll come back subsequently as and when there are more developments with regards to this particular story. And so that is Martin Pebu. He's a legal practitioner, rights advocate. We've been engaging on this particular breaking news that is just coming in. And if you are just joining, the breaking news is that the president has suspended the Chief Justice. As you may be aware, there are 3 petitions seeking her removal from office. And the very latest on it is that the president has come to the conclusion in consultation with the Council of States that the 3 petitions disclose a matter that is worth looking into. And Marina, there's a lot of history that has been made because this is the very first time that we are getting to this level. And we go through the history, you see that there have been attempts in the past. In some instances, there were no attempts. But the point is that none has even gotten to the level that this particular one has gotten to.
Absolutely. And when I was speaking to Council and then Felix as well, the only stated record of a Chief Justice ever removed is during the tenure of Ghana's first president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Since then, either there have been attempts or there have been no attempts, but as to it reaching this stage, like you mentioned, none like that. Let's try and walk you through, and then we'll go to the presidency right now and gauge the mood from there as well. Since the longest serving republic, which we've enjoyed from a number of justices from the Supreme Court, started with Philip Edward Archer, sat through from 1991 to 95. There's no record really of him really having to have a petition brought against him. Same for Isaac Kobna-Aban, who was the Chief Justice from 95 up until 2001.
I mean, in terms of Justice Aban, there was not a petition directly, but there was a matter that went to the Supreme Court because the Ghana Bar Association had taken the view that he had conducted himself in a manner that they believe rendered him incompetent to occupy the position. So this was when he was appointed. But the Supreme Court came to the conclusion that what they were trying to do looked like an Article 146 procedure. And so the court dealt with that aspect of it. But in terms of a petition for his removal, there's no record of that. Let's
proceed. Edward Kwame Redu, 2001 to 2023, he received one petition. That petitioner was Francis Janku Asasi Kofi. The basis of the petition, he lied under oath about his date of birth, whether or not he was born in 1934 or 1932, became a subject of quite interesting debate. Also, this became the basis of this, where he lied before the Public Accounts Committee when he was going through the process to become
the appointment committee,
the vetting process, and then again committing perjury by providing false information to a public officer. A determination was reached on that petition so that it failed. It did not reach this particular stage, and then he, as and when, voluntarily retired as well. From him, George Kingsley Aqua, 2003 to 2007, the petitioner was Bright Oblite Akwete. The basis of the petition, judicial interference, where he alleged, amongst many other things, that he was instructing judges on how to rule on specific cases. There was a claim of abuse of office, misusing his authority in judicial matters, and then the victimization of judges as well. You have a few to say in relation to this?
Yes, I mean, just like the other ones as well. I mean, these allegations were very serious in nature that were made and leveled against the Chief Justice. But just like the previous one, this also did not succeed. It did not even get to the level where we have gotten to now at this point in time. And so that is the reason why we are constantly making the point that this is a very first time that we've gotten to this particular point in time.
Georgina Theodore Wood served for 10 years as Chief Justice. She had two petitions, one from the citizens of La Home and abroad, and their concern was quite straightforward, that she was unfairly handling land cases relating to the Gadangme people, and amongst many other things, they had an issue with that. Then there was another one from Ernest Obri Latte, which was on stated misbehavior and incompetence. We'll get the details as to what really the conclusion was, because that failed. But let's try and take you to the presidency right now, where Komla Kluche is our presidential affairs correspondent. Crucial decision has been taken, the suspension of the Chief Justice, the first of its kind in our history as a country.
Well, I can say to you that there's very little talk about it at the seat of government. Mostly today has actually been a busy day for His Excellency the President. His first official assignment since assuming office as the head of state with respect to the 50-year anniversary launch of the ECOWAS. And so the President has not been in office directly, but he's currently holding a luncheon for most of the dignitaries or the heads of state who came to partake in that anniversary launch. But I mean, if you walk through the corridors, you could hear people, and most of them are tuning to TV3 and are monitoring the situation. But the talk amongst them is to the effect that this has been long overdue, it's been expected, but my inquiry, especially at the top echelons of this administration, also revealed that the processes have been very fair to the Chief Justice. And I'm just going to take you back to that famous 28th March letter, where when the President received the petition, he directed his secretary, Dr. Callistus, to write to the Chief Justice, giving audience to her to respond to the issues. Now, this was a letter dated, like I did say, on the 28th of March 2025, addressed to the Honorable Chief Justice of the Republic, and it's captioned petition for removal for the Honorable Chief Justice under Article 146, Clause 6 of the 1992 Constitution. And His Excellency has received 3 petitions from 3 individuals, and is that no, that